Hi, and welcome to week 3. This is an exciting part in our work because we get to move now out of the introduction of what it means to be a counselor into the actual theories of counseling and therapy. So it's fitting that we would start out with Freud because Freud was actually the first person really in Western America to come up with psychology theories. Before that, people were just medical doctors that might help people out with what were mental health issues but weren't labeled really as that. The theories were that people, if they were overly anxious or very stressed, it was probably because of one of their physical symptoms, meaning they might have too much blood in their body, and so they would do some bloodletting, they called it, where they drain out some of the blood, or they would think that someone had bowel issues and that it was your bowels that were actually causing you to feel uptight or stressed. So there were only theories really based on physical causes that would make someone have mental health issues. But Freud came along and was the first to sort of ask and wonder if there could be some relational and family and personal things, issues of interactions with others and your own mental state and your upbringing that might contribute to why you are the way you are and why you're having mental health issues that you're having. So it really was the leader of psychology. And the two main things that I really want you to think about in terms of psychoanalytic theory, number one is this concept of the id, ego, and superego. This is something as a counselor you really need to understand clearly. So the id is sort of like that devil on one shoulder. It's that voice that says, "Oh, I just want to have pleasure. I want to do what feels good right now in the moment." And the superego is kind of like the angel on the other shoulder saying, "Well, now, this is the right way to do it." Kind of emphasizes the rules of life, what you should do, what your parents maybe have taught you, and things like that. And then in the middle is our ego, which is sort of this representative to the real world that's supposed to try to balance out those other two voices and say, okay, I really want to do this because it feels good in the moment, but I feel like I should be doing this. This is what seems to be right to do. And we want to choose something in the middle. So healthy people in a psychoanalytic view are ones that have a strong ego state, that are able to do a good job of negotiating those two voices and don't let either one of them dominate you. The other concept to keep in mind is that of transference and countertransference. This is something that we're studying in this book that you might not have covered as much in Psychology 100, Intro to Psych. And that's because it applies more to the actual practice of counseling. So the idea here is that when you're sitting in the room with a client or a patient, you as the counselor are still a human being and they are a human being. And so sometimes other human issues can get in the way of us helping them best. So for instance, transference is the idea that a patient or client can look at us and read into us other values from relationships in their lives, and that can be affecting the therapy. For instance, as a woman, if I'm working with a teenage girl, she might sort of start to read into our relationship a sense of me being like a mother and start to lean on me more as a mother and want to invite me to her graduation or have me be involved in meeting her boyfriend to see if I approve or things like that, because she started to transfer a sense of me being like her mother. And I would want as a therapist to talk about that and make sure to have healthy boundaries to make sure I'm not playing that role. I'm not her mother, I'm her counselor. And then the reverse of that, countertransference, is the sense that I can have my own issues come up and block how I see the client. So for instance, if I have a client who is having an affair with someone and they're a married woman, and I've had someone close to me in my life who had an affair with a married woman, and it really ends up to stir up my own stuff and my thoughts that that's wrong, you can't do that, you shouldn't have done that, and all of my own feelings about that and my relationship with someone else in my life. If that ends up coming up in a subtle way or overt way with my client, that's really inappropriate, and that's good stuff to be talking to other therapists about. If you're in like a supervision group, that's what many therapists do during their career to help countertransference, is meet, say, once a week, once a month with a couple other therapists, and in a confidential manner talk about some things that are coming up with their clients that maybe are more about their own personal self than and relationships than about what the client really needs best. So people can help each other out that way. Anyhow, if you have any questions about Chapter 4, feel free to email or call. I'm really happy to interact with you in any way that's helpful, and I hope that you'll gain some insight through your fellow students in the discussion this week as well.